Do you know what it takes to be an actor? I mean a real working actor. It takes hustle. It takes grit, graft, determination. And it even takes at least a teensy-eensy bit of talent. And if you want to understand how to hustle and make your talent work for you, then take a listen to this episode's guest, Gideon Emery. That's not a name you hear a lot, is it? Gideon Emery. That's a strong name. Strong name for a strong actor. Born in Windsor, England, and raised in South Africa, Gideon is a highly versatile actor and voice artist renowned for his dynamic range and compelling performances. His early career included notable stage roles in South Africa, eventually leading to a successful transition into film, television, and video games. He is best known for his work in popular video game franchises like Call of Duty and Final Fantasy, as well as playing Deucalion in the cult hit TV series Teen Wolf, and his recurring role on the series Daredevil. He's a comedian, actor, singer, a true raconteur. We could all hope to be as versatile and talented as him. Emery's distinctive voice and adaptability have made him a sought-after talent in both live action and animated productions. But for our part, we're all about the hustle. Hear his story of how he moved from South Africa to Los Angeles some nearly 30 years ago, kicked down Hollywood's door and said, "I'm Gideon Emery. Hear me roar." Okay, buddy, you got your go juice?
Okay. The go juice is within me.
What the hell was that?
He did not like that. No, he did, because he laughed. Do you have your go juice?
We need like a pre-show warm-up. All right, never mind. Let's do it.
Okay.
Offstage Acting Podcast.
Hello.
Back at ya.
Woo.
Coming back at you, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
with
right.
Another installment of your favorite podcast.
It is absolutely your favorite.
Your favorite acting podcast for sure.
It better be.
It goes by the name Offstage Acting, the podcast. Good day. Good day.
Good day.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
I have a self-tape that just came through.
Oh my gosh, like literally right
Yeah. Yeah, my agent is like, sorry, but my agent is going, I need to respond to the Mandy, that's right. I need to respond to the shit, there's a question or something.
Okay.
And I need
the podcast immediately starts, everyone, and Todd just gets out his phone. It's like, oh
it's
my
something
gosh,
I know.
from my agent. Oh my gosh, wait, the
Can
podcast
you please give me the
break.
answers to the questions in red below? And the question is, you're not gonna believe this.
What?
It's for a show or something, and they want to know if my availability is if I'm fully available between September and February.
Are you fully available for 5 months?
Who knows? You know.
Wait.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot.
A lot of months
Okay.
until into next year. The life of an actor. I don't know. I have to say yes, I guess. Otherwise, what do you say? No, I don't know. It does say partially available, not available. I don't know.
Wait, what would you even consider? Like,
I think if you have other commitments, you know. So if I know I'm going to be shooting on something, but I don't have any other commitments, so.
Oh,
or if you have a holiday booked, I suppose, vacation, you might do. Yeah.
All right.
How about you? Any castings?
I did have a casting. I did have a casting for a cute little kid's audiobook, which I loved. But I'm
cute.
thank you. But I'm really angry with myself because it was due at 10 this morning, and I did it like multiple days ago, and I didn't send it in because I was like, oh, I'll listen to it later to, I want to make sure it sounds good. And then I just forgot about it. And then at 5 p.m. today, I just I started up. So yeah.
When was it due?
Today, this morning.
Well, write your agent and say, is there any way I can slip this still in? I know it's late, but and maybe they can.
I sent an email immediately. I was like, I think I literally said,
Jesus, that's loud. Weren't we just talking about protecting the
That wasn't even loud. That
Don't do it
wasn't even
into the
loud.
microphone. I've told you
That was
before.
like even
Away. If you're
fake
gonna
loud.
shout, do it away from the microphone.
Wasn't even shouting.
Oh my God, you're gonna hear this back, and you'll be like, "Oh, it was a bit." And
No, last time I heard it back, it was
please
fine.
write in if you think Jay was shouting right now, and if you were
All right.
distressed and disturbed by that. We apologize here at the Offstage Acting Podcast. We do not make a policy of disrupting your. Anyway,
Your inner ear.
your inner eardrum.
Anyway, yeah. So I did,
Okay.
and I apologized.
What was the
So,
lesson you learned, Jay?
the lesson I learned was to not do that.
Not be late with my audition.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should just next time do the
Maybe there's
audition and
just something.
send it.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe there's just something to just like getting her done and banging her out and forgetting about it afterwards. Boom, and not being like, I'm gonna pick at it and play with it and da da da. You know, just
I
do what
guess
you can.
maybe.
Then,
Yeah.
I
Maybe
mean,
you're right.
there's got to be a lesson in it. Otherwise, what was the value of the
Well, the lesson
experience?
was that I felt terrible and my stomach sank and it's still a little bit uneasy. And so my
Right.
body's like, can we like not do that again?
Oh,
That would be really great.
Oh, you don't feel good. Oh gosh.
Well, that's what happens.
I've learned a lesson as well, and I.
Okay. Yeah, tell us what the lesson is.
Asking you questions about how things are going might not be in my best interest.
Okay. What is in your best interest? How
Talking about our guest. That's what's
Oh my gosh, screaming.
I want to talk about our guest now.
Okay.
So today we have a nice interview with a powerful actor. He's actually a friend of one of our previous guests, James Babson.
Oh my gosh. The one I wasn't able to be there for.
That's right. The interview that you weren't here for. Now you're here for the friend. So, Gideon Emery, his name is Gideon Emery. Okay. And the only thing really we have in common is that we have a mutual friend.
Oh.
And that we're both actors.
Oh, and that's exciting.
Correct me if when you meet him.
All right.
Tell me what you think. I think he's like a doppelganger.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll look out for it.
See if you think he looks a bit like me. We could play brothers, I think.
Okay. I'll look out for it.
Yeah. When we introduce him.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it. He does a ton of. He's a proper working actor, and I love these kind of guys because they're just. Well, we'll find out about him. We'll let him tell us. But he just works all over in all genres, all venues, and he's
awesome.
Yeah, and you can tell that he's just like.
He's like working.
Grafting. Exactly. Yeah. He's doing
That's awesome.
He's doing what it takes. You want to check out his show reel?
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's do it. Now, Andy, you'll yell at me if I don't do this bit. There we go. Gideon Emery, ladies and gentlemen.
When we came over to push the body out of the way, we saw the thing was still breathing. We dragged it as close to the fire line as we could. Watched the flames take over.
That's when it died?
No. That's when it changed.
You know, your dad and I never had a honeymoon.
And this year we thought Fiji. You can handle one Christmas without us, right? That job I went to interview for, I got the offer. It starts right after New Year's. We have to move.
In a week?
I've been doing contract work for the last year. It hardly pays. There's no benefits and no future. I know it's far.
Sensitive dad.
I hate this.
We do too. You seem a little quiet at dinner.
Cop.
Is there anything I should know?
It's a long day at school, that's all.
Yeah. Detention has a way of making the school day longer, doesn't it?
I didn't know you knew.
Look, I know we're still settling into Atlanta. I'm at a new precinct, you're at a new school. But I need to know you're on the right track.
I'm sorry.
Kinda
I'll do
ominous,
better.
isn't he?
I promise you can trust me.
I'm a cop with you. I don't trust anyone.
Right.
Wish you'd shown this concern for punctuality yesterday.
Is that your goal, to graduate students who can punch a clock?
My goal is to graduate students who can manage the organizational demands of the real world.
Okay, listen. I understand all the demands of the real world. Okay, it's just the demands of this place that are taking me some time to figure out, but I'm getting there. All right, I just need someone to say fuck it. Right, this kid deserves a break.
I take it that's me. You got a blue book?
Yeah. Right here.
Pen?
Yeah, I got a
He's
3
easy to
just in
watch, isn't
case.
Yeah.
Then fuck it.
Oh, gotta quack that.
Maybe you'd actually rise to the occasion. Become an alpha by killing one.
It was a
Not like you.
Teen Wolf.
Not yet.
Looks like he's about to change.
Situations come about. Situations where you realize the only way to protect one person is to kill another. You want to threaten me? Is that why you're here?
Don't you see his eyes are all red?
I live here.
Come on,
If
kid.
that's how you see it.
A lot of characters who can't catch on to what I'm doing too early. All of
Oh,
it,
wait till you see his
completely legal,
take
of
his shirt
course.
off. There you go.
Wow.
There you go, Jay.
At least,
I know.
that's why you're here.
Thing is, why do you want to do something like this? It's an historical building. It's popular amongst everyone, really. You're looking to annoy some people.
That's the
aren't
part
you?
where we look the
You
most
attached to it
similar
personally?
when we have our shirts off.
Мы были в Атермия 3 года. От хозяев Москвы до месту Параши.
Speaking
Я дал
Russian.
себе слово, когда выйдем на войну, не размениваться. Дело принципа.
You turn me in, I'll tell him everything. Every gory detail. You're not gonna say anything to nobody. Because you're not walking out of these woods.
Oh! Bear trap. He stepped in a bear trap.
Harder.
He was about to smack her in the back of the head.
Oh.
And now he's in a bear trap.
Don't leave me.
Trap. And now she's
We
trying
need you to stay here, keep doing what you're doing. But not with Chaplin in charge. We want you. You, we can work with.
Ton of U.S.
Funny
television.
way of working with people, but
Yeah, wow.
The president's not gonna last. Not with you here. Everything's turning against him. I'm talking 6 months, maybe a year.
Yeah,
Then you
I'm
come
not waiting that long. What if Christine was here? What if we brought her to you?
Can make that happen, Sam. Where you see half a crew, Isabel,
Military.
Great
I
shot.
see family. Courage.
Halo.
And 1,000 heroes who swore to fight their way through hell
It's like
before they
CGI.
ever turn their backs and run.
But it looks like him.
And where you see one old ship,
I see home.
and that is always worth fighting for.
Whoa!
Excellent.
There he is, Gideon Emery.
It's amazing how like that that 2 hands can create such
All that applause.
full room of applause. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
well, that's the enthusiasm that we like to show to our guests.
That's how
here.
much we liked it. It was really good.
It's really good. Говоришь по-русски, да?
Oh,
За
немного
что?
понимаю. Не очень хорошо.
Нет, хорошо, да. Я тоже чуть-чуть.
Yeah, the best thing is when you audition for. Actually, I auditioned for was it Takers?
Right.
It's a movie with one of Paul Walker's last movies,
Mm.
and I auditioned for like the Russian bad guy,
Right.
and they asked me, I did the scene, and then they're like, do you speak any Russian? I was like, yeah, я немного понимаю по-русски, но не очень хорошо, which means, I speak a little Russian.
I speak
but
a little
not very
Russian,
well.
but not very well.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, great. So then, you book the job and then you're on set and they've got like Hayden Christensen's all squibbed and all this stuff's going on there. And then like the director's like, just say, shoot him through the wall, in
Right.
Russian. And you're like,
Mm.
Can I get a translator on that? Where's my
Yeah.
Duolingo app?
and you realize you're in too deep.
Yeah, that happened to me once or twice. I speak some Czech, but then I got into a situation where I was like, I don't think I can do that. That whole thing? I don't know if I can speak
I remember
all-
that from my movie in
Touche
Prague.
prosim, yeah, when you're on the set in Prague, yeah.
Quiet, please. Yeah.
Quiet, please, yeah. Good.
Um,
Gideon,
well, yeah, thanks for having me.
thank you for joining us. Good to have you. You're English.
I am English, and then I moved to South Africa with my parents when I was a little boy, and I went to drama school there after school, and then I worked there for 10 years, and then I moved to the States.
But you wouldn't know it from your show reel.
Yeah, I don't have. The funny thing is, I've never worked, ironically, on camera in the UK as I was going to say as an adult, but I mean as a child either for that matter.
Right.
I wasn't a child actor, but yeah.
Have you ever done anything in your natural accent?
I mean, like, I mean, Teen Wolf is pretty much my natural accent.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
that was kind of leaning, sort of Britishy, I suppose. And then sometimes I do stuff in the South African accent. Actually, the most recent thing I just worked on, funny enough, I was playing an Aussie, which is sort of random. I guess
Did
yeah.
you say g'day, mate, and oi, oi?
There was a mate. There might have been
Aussie.
a mate here and there.
A mate? Did you throw a mate around? Yeah. Good
yeah.
on you.
It's so offensive, that whole so yeah, throw a shrimp on the barbie.
That one.
But I mean, the nice thing about doing Australian is it's kind of similar. It's similar to South African, although actually Kiwi's a little more similar because it's kind of even more nasal on those flat vowels. But
yeah, you're loving it, huh, Jay? Jay's like,
well, I just love Flight of the Conchords. I just love Flight of the Conchords because they're
man, that dude. I'm so jealous of.
I love that show too.
The one guy, I don't.
Jermaine.
Jermaine. Yeah, he's a talent.
Jermaine, man, he's sort of cleaning up and all the VO stuff, and then I was watching something else with my kid. We're like animated stuff, and I sort of have this dream of I have a 6-year-old. And I had this sort of dream of doing something. I mean, you saw the show reel, none of that she can watch. She's old enough to watch any of it. By the time she is, I'm going to be so not relevant, and the stuff I've done is going to be so old. And I'm going to be so old. So I don't know. So I'm like I want to be on Paw Patrol or something.
It would be.
Come on, Ryder, let's go. But yeah.
I did a kid show years ago when my daughter was about 4, and she watched it and was just watching, all confused, sort of looking at me and looking at the TV and going, "Daddy, you're a cowboy." It was but it was a kind of a proud moment where I could be like, "What do you think?" Because she could watch really that cool. As opposed to something else. Yeah. How many kids do you have?
Just the one. Just the one. And a 4-legged kid, which I'll check on every so often.
Kid?
Yeah.
Is that
meowing
what South Africans call dogs?
Oh no, it's woofing. I mean, I sometimes wish she was a cat. She actually, I think, may have some cat lineage because she's always on the top of the couch. Top of the couch, if there's a throw pillow, she wants to climb up and sort of nest.
Oh.
It's really weird. But she's other than that, she doesn't have any cat or dog smarts, other dogs I've had in the past and grown up with, you sort of walk on the sidewalk and you get to the street and there's a general sense of oh, okay, I should stop here. I'm not going to sort of just merrily walk out into the traffic, but she'll do that,
Oh.
If walking and someone's coming towards us, there isn't this sort of inclination to sort of.
What kind of dog is
around.
this?
Give them space.
She'll sort of, she assumes there'll be some sort of.
What kind of dog?
Osmosis. She's a rescue. She's like a Maltese Terrier mix.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, she's very sweet.
So I'd love to talk about your dog all evening, but
there's more for us to talk about. I just bring those into frame. I keep seeing these. Speaking of that, because those cat videos, people take these tiny little hands and they put them underneath the cat. I found these at this toy store and I was obsessed with them.
Is it just
hands?
I
didn't want to give them to my kid.
For those of you who can't see, it's little just.
It's hilarious.
Little.
They are pretty.
They're so creepy, and then I kind of once in a while I'll sort of.
They go on your. Oh, I saw some. Yeah, they go on your finger.
So anyway,
oh my gosh, I love them.
I'm not sure really.
We found a kindred spirit
if my wife with those, she's completely appalled.
Oh my god, I gotta get a pair of those. Okay, they're like little hands that go on fingers.
Tchotchkes.
Where were you born in England? Where are you from in England?
Where were you born? I was born in Windsor, actually.
Right.
But I'm not, even 458,642nd in line to the throne.
Isn't that the king's last name? of England? Isn't his last name Windsor?
Well, yes. I mean, I think
Yeah.
is he? Is he? He might
Windsor
be.
is a
They are the
place.
Windsors.
Windsor,
Yeah,
Windsor,
yeah.
Windsor
And Windsor
Castle.
Castle's in Windsor. But
Jay
yeah.
knows nothing of the country that he lives in, by the way.
Yeah, you might have thought that was a joke. I wasn't.
No.
So that was
I didn't. I knew
great.
it wasn't a joke. I knew it was your attempt to try to understand Britain.
Well,
So, okay, Gideon is born. What a name, Gideon, too.
And it's my given name too. I don't have
Yeah.
a middle name, and I felt hard done by at school when other kids had middle names.
They
I was
all
like,
call you Giddy,
I
right?
should have a middle name. They called me Gideon. I hated it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You've
That's
you've
what
called
I'm
me,
going to call you that nonstop. That's all
I'm over it now, but
Yeah,
when
I
I
hope
was
so.
12 and impressionable,
Yeah.
it really annoyed me.
Gid?
Gid's okay.
Gid's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Hey, Gid.
Hey, Gid. But I wanted like a cool nickname, like like Spider or something. I don't know. And no, I didn't get one. It was just sort of
How
just
about
take the
Dork?
first syllable.
or Little Hands.
Dork. Little hands. Yeah. Speaking of little hands, I've always had a big head, and that's why fun enough in the show. Obviously, you've got to have the obligatory like body shot if you
Right.
do
If
the
you have
kinds
the
of
body
stuff I
to
do, I
show
guess.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the actiony sort of bad guy where it's sort of okay. So I showed that I can actually. I look like I can do this stuff.
Yeah.
I look like I can kill somebody, but I don't really do it. But I had to like grow into my head because it was a large head. Even like
Oh.
at drama school, it was a big head, and I was like, I got to get to gym and sort of like do something with this skinny frame of mine because it is a big head.
Otherwise, it's just like a bobblehead.
A little bit.
See, I'm the
you're
opposite.
talking-
I have a tiny head. I have a smaller head. Oh, there. That's you. That's a bobblehead version of you. Why do you have all that stuff in your booth? Have you brought these props with you to like show?
Just to, it's like random stuff. I only have a few things here.
Are you like a children's entertainer over Zoom?
I do.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is that
I
your
do
side
parties.
hustle?
Do you do parties?
All right, let's get into the Gideon story. Gideon is born in Windsor. He grows up till he's 10. Was it 10, you said?
4.
And then 4?
Hmm.
And you went to South Africa.
I went to South Africa and I lived there for 27 years, the same amount of time that Nelson Mandela was in prison.
Right.
Ironically, I only clicked that a few months ago, and I was like, wow, I was lucky I wasn't in prison, and
Yeah.
I'm white.
You were in a prison. Was it Joburg or Cape Town?
I was in Joburg.
Mm.
Yeah.
Been there. I've been there. That's all right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Were you on a compound?
I was not on a compound. No.
They all live on compounds in Joburg. Where did you live?
It's in a house. But it was no, it's more like
a house in a compound,
yeah, like
in a neighborhood,
fancy type.
Yeah, fence.
But
But
now, but growing up, it wasn't like that at all.
Okay.
Growing up, we'd go, I mean, the kind of thing probably you did at like school where, if your mom didn't, if you weren't outside and
Right.
When your mom was going to come pick you up, then you'd walk home,
Yeah.
It was, it was
good childhood,
sort of
safe,
stuff,
good
So,
childhood.
yeah,
Was that because your father was like, yeah, was your father
weird?
Weird.
But I'll just finish. It was weird when I came to the understanding that this was a weird, messed up political environment.
Yeah. How old were you when you figured that out? 13, 14?
Probably, I would say probably 12. I always had like an awareness of it. I couldn't compare it to much because I was 4 when I left the UK.
Yeah, so that's just what you knew.
Not like it's kind of what I knew, but I know like once I went to high school, which was 12, I had a keen sense of like, oh, this is like messed up, but I was fortunate also that I didn't go to government schooling. I went to private schooling, so there were black students in the school as well, whereas for the most part there might not have been, and there wasn't this sort of hard I don't know, indoctrination. I remember ironically my Afrikaans teacher, because it was mandatory to learn Afrikaans.
Wow.
Which is,
Okay.
at the time, but he was the one who showed us a picture of Mandela in class, and it was banned at the time. You weren't allowed to have pictures of Mandela, certainly not like show them.
Really?
Him
This
going
is
like
the-
that around, and I'll show you.
Yeah, this is
before
the
he came out
80s we're
with
talking about?
this is the
Late 80s?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, trippy.
And so he kind of was educating you a little bit about that.
Very.
Yeah, Mr. Preller. He was a cool cat. Yeah.
But why? So I wanted to ask before, why South Africa? Father transferred for work.
I was 4 and I was ready to spread my wings.
You just were like, I'm not. I need
yeah,
sunshine.
My dad got a job offer and went there, and yeah, we ended up staying, I guess, beyond whatever that initial contract
27
was.
years. So you hung out until you were 31 years old. I just did the math.
Yeah,
on
like
that.
like 30. Yeah, I remember I had my 31st birthday in LA at Mel's Diner
Oh yeah.
on Sunset on my own, and I had the blue plate special.
Oh.
I remember it. That's really sad.
That's
actually.
a kind of a sad story.
Not to me. It sounds great.
Yeah, that's Jay's
But
ideal birthday.
It was fun though. I mean, it was in terms of like I had that like the romantic notion. I still do kind of, of like American diners and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Totally.
I love a diner.
Mel's looks
Love a
great,
diner.
and it's you can't go wrong.
No, I love Mel's and that diner. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Wow, I'm allergic to diners.
So yes,
so Gideon shows up to LA. He's already an actor.
Yeah, so I'd worked for 10 years. I mean, I went to drama school, which was like a traditional drama school in.
What's a Joburg drama school look like? Walk us through that.
It's similar to, it was at university, so it's 4-year, traditional, your Chekhov and Stanislavski and the whole tooth movement, voice training. So like your
right,
probably like your British schools, but obviously without the central.
Are there like English and math classes, or is it like conservatory?
Oh no,
So
you had to
got
take
a bachelor's degree.
It was a bachelor's degree, exactly.
Yeah.
So I had to take, 2 other arts subjects, and I took English and psychology. And then I think that was for like the first 2 years, and then the last 2 you didn't have to. And then
what's the name of that university?
The University of the Witwatersrand, or WITS, WITS.
Is that Afrikaans? Witwatersrand.
Witwatersrand is,
Witwatersrand.
and that's kind of like the area in Joburg, I guess, but it was the name of the university. It still is, and that's the biggest university in Joburg. And then UCT, or the University of Cape Town, is the biggest one in Cape Town. But
what made you want to get a bachelor's? Was it a bachelor's in theater?
In acting, yeah, absolutely. So that was just, I had the choice between. It's not like I had the choice. I applied to. I'd always loved acting.
Yeah.
And I was like the class clown and this sort of thing.
No shit.
I see it.
Like the school plane, the school play. The school had a plane. It was incredible. The school plays, and then I've always liked art as well, and so I applied to fine art and to drama. I got into both, and then I thought drama would be the more sensible choice of 2 like ridiculously impractical choices for a career, because I was like, what am I going to do? Like there was a place called Zoo Lake, which is still there, where they'd have like the first Sunday of every month, artists would come and stick their paintings out, and you go and you browse around and stuff. And suddenly I had this vision of like it seemed really bleak, whereas acting had some I don't know, shine to it. All that changed once I moved to LA, of course, and I realized
you had no business being.
It was brass, it was tin. No, I just, but I did that, and also as well, I was called up to the army. You had 2 years
compulsory military
service, and I did not want to participate in that in the apartheid government stuff, because for the military I'd be like in a Casper, which would be like a military vehicle, driving around a township, probably like firing rubber bullets, this sort of shit, stuff. Sorry. So if you furthered your education, you could sort of stay that push it out a few years, and then first or second year they abolished military service, so I didn't end up having to do it. Yeah.
So you're the class clown in high school. Is it high school in South Africa? What do they call it?
Yeah, high school. There's no such thing as middle school. There certainly wasn't. Yeah, so it was like primary school and high school.
But apart from being the class clown, were you involved in plays? Was there a theater department in high school?
Oh, there wasn't a theater department. That's interesting. We didn't have that. It was a good school, but there wasn't a theater department per se. But there was, the annual school play type thing. There were house plays as well,
Right.
And then I remember there was like a musical in my last year, and I, I got
Did you get
cast
involved?
in nice roles. Yeah, it was like HMS Pinafore, and I was Dick Deadeye, and very charactery stuff.
Yeah.
Specifically that role as well, because I think he's described. It's like a Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah, sure.
Gilbert and Sullivan has been brought up on this podcast so often.
Everybody's done.
Oh, really? That's fine.
It's crazy.
Of course.
Nobody would dream of casting me in a musical these days. But and then here's the irony. I started off. I got a voiceover agent in my last year of study. I got an agent in my last year of study at drama school who repped everybody for VO as well, which was atypical at the time. There weren't such things as like individual voice agents.
Yeah.
And not all agents repped for VO. And I was just fortunate that the peeps who signed me did do that, and I had my own demo on cassette. This is like how into this I was, I'd done like all these voices,
recording on a little thing at home.
Yeah, and I grew up like listening to of course, like I loved my sort of American entertainment feed, because we got lots of American shows.
All the shows were coming through.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like when I was a kid. Remember Airwolf?
Sure.
Like I would entertain the other kids doing like the helicopter flyby.
Okay.
It's like that.
How does that go? Do it for us. What is that?
Let me just
Can we do it now?
close the door here. My
Your kid's sleeping?
Yeah, and it's gonna be
loud.
Let me
Do I need to adjust your
Can
volume?
I still do it? I'll adjust my volume. I don't know if I can reach those notes, but it was something like it was like it was this like raspy sound. It's not without the reference. It's like that's when you need to like bring it up
Oh,
automatically.
I remember the show. Maybe
It was like something like that. I did it better at the time. I also did Max from Heart to Heart. That's really
Oh
Asian.
yeah. Oh man, I love that show. Old
Like
Heart
early
to Heart.
80s stuff.
Yeah.
And there was
He was the narrator.
Llewellyn Maxwell or something was the actor's name. And he talked like this. And by the way, my name's Max. And I could do it better at like
Max.
12 than I can now.
Mm-hmm.
But he had this raspy voice, and I loved doing that. And there was like Casey Kasem, American top 40, top 40. Like, and here's a long distance dedication. And then there was like, I remember like doing stuff like, remember USA for Africa. This is like 1985, I think.
Yeah. The world.
And then there was that. And then there was
so you're picking up
We
all
Are the
this.
World. So I'm doing all the voices for that. It used to amuse and then sometimes annoy my parents. I
think more annoy probably
do
than
all the
amuse,
parts. Like, there comes a time when you heed a certain call, or when the world, and he was like, try to do all of them.
Do that.
So
And
once
they'd
you
be
got
like,
to Cyndi Lauper,
we don't need you. The
it's like,
TV's on. It's fine.
Between Cyndi
Turn
Lauper,
the TV
and
off. I can do it. The whole thing. Okay,
but
so
that's
now
why
you're
they did encourage
you're
me.
making your fellow classmates laugh.
Yeah.
You're the class clown. You do some plays, and you go, I don't want to do anything else with my life. I want to do this. I don't know how to do anything else with my life. Certainly don't want to be in the military.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily. I mean, I kind of liked the idea of that because I went back to the UK for a little bit in the late 80s with my parents because during sanctions against apartheid, it kind of throttled a lot of businesses, which was obviously the intention. And my dad had like a one-stop shop. He was like a management consultant for computer companies, and it was just him. So he didn't have like staff to lay off or anything. And then the kind of people he was hiring. There weren't positions for those sort of people for a while, so it was kind of brutal. And we sort of sold everything and tried to go back to the UK, and it was it was a tough sort of period for the family. And
was that between high school and uni kind of time?
That was late high school, I guess. And then What was the point of the thing? Cadets. Like I remember, because the UK's got cadets, and I was like, I want to join cadets, and I wasn't there long enough. So I think I would have. I like the idea of the military, just not you know
shooting people.
The South African apartheid.
Yeah, that's a wild time, and to be kind of thrust into that, even though you're just an English kid, essentially, to have to be like in the mix of this
English kid,
just this English kid chucked into the kind of one of the biggest political issues of the time. I mean, apartheid was a huge issue, almost like we're seeing today in other parts of the world. So,
yep.
I want to get to this now because I lived in LA for 10 years. I grew up in Southern California. It was hard enough for me to get up the road 2 hours. You pulled yourself out of Cape Town. How were you even allowed to leave South Africa, and get to...
They didn't stop you leaving. You know that, eh? They don't stop you leaving. But they want to take your money. No, they
America.
No, I'd worked for 10 years. I found myself working on, I try and do like a play a year, to keep me honest. And also drama school training, like in the UK is theater training, right? So you're not learning like on camera technique and that kind of stuff. But I did make a pact with myself on my first stage play for like the National Pact Performing Arts thing. And I remember like going to the green room day one, and we got our scripts and we're sitting down, and one of the older actors came, and he had this briefcase, and that's what he brought to
rehearsals.
To rehearsals and whatever. And anyway, he clicked open his briefcase, and then he had I remember this so vividly. He had a script, and then he had like a little like a sandwich, and then he had like a little hip flask,
Oh.
and that was it. And I remember this like jolt of, I don't want to end up like him, as much as that sounds like hugely judgmental now, but I remember that thought. It's like, no, I need to make a business out of this. This needs to be a thingy. So I was really blessed that well, I had the training I did, but I've got a decent voice for for radio, and I was lucky that I found this niche in South Africa where it sort of cut through the mix, and I didn't sound like anyone else, on the air kind of thing.
Right.
And so I was sort of like dived headlong into that as well. And it also wasn't received particularly well by like sort of my peers at the time, because I think it's probably a common thing. You leave drama school, maybe less so these days,
right. You left drama school, went into radio,
2000s or whatever. But you're going to do theater, right? It's pure. That's what you've learned. That's your craft. It's an honest thing, and you're a gypsy, and you're going to go where the work is, and you're not going to sell out, right? You're not going to do commercials or that
radio.
sort of thing. So I think there was a little sense of that, because I made a lot of money doing that, so I was
doing radio.
Doing radio and TV, VO,
and TV,
it was a good. I was very fortunate, because it was very much the exception, whereas in the years past, obviously it's become more like, oh, okay, well, that's naturally you get into that because you want to make a living. You don't want to be sort of
of course, and you had the talent. I mean, you obviously have good skills with accents.
But it was the timing.
Variety of voices.
A variety of voices, most of which are in my head, and it annoys those close to me. And I said, well, imagine what it's like for me.
Yeah,
because I can't turn them off. It was fun, and I have enjoyed it. And good night. So as I said, Gideon was doing his obituary for some reason on the podcast.
So Gideon shows up, and now he's at Mel's Diner on his 30th birthday, and he's saying to himself,
31st. 30th birthday, I don't remember. That was definitely in Joburg, and there was a period of time I'm unaccounted for, and I have no recollection of.
Fair enough.
But it was great. I do remember hanging the mirror ball in the bar, and after that, it's not much.
Perfect. All right. Flash forward 1 year later, 31. Mel's
31,
Diner.
man. Oh, to be in my 30s again.
Yeah. Okay. 31.
What a
Mel's Diner. I'm going to get you there eventually. We can
Mm.
do this all day.
Keep an eye on time here. Yeah. Sorry. I can just talk, so it's good. You've got to keep me.
I will. That's
back
my
on the
job.
tracks.
It's fine. You are you've decided you're going to live in LA.
Yeah.
You're going to make a go of it. You got an apartment? You got a friend, an agent?
Yeah, so what I did is I applied for my green card. And I figured, here's the thing, because I knew people who'd gone and, hadn't got their visa or whatever, and, they go, they show up, they can't work, they're sort of off the grid and they're doing bits and bobs, and then they come back and it was a very expensive exercise and it's, quite demoralizing. So I was like, I'm gonna go the proper route. I'm gonna put all my stuff together. And I applied for this thing called EB1, which is an alien of extraordinary ability. And basically, you prove you're theoretically great in your field, right? Because for athletes, as well.
And that you're like an alien.
And that you're an alien.
I believe that.
I'm getting that vibe.
And
the large-headed alien with all his... Oh my God, he can do it. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
There was no question that I was alien.
Yeah.
I do remember, though, when I was
that
about
box
15,
was ticked. No problem.
Outside, no joke. Standing outside, like sort of in my high school years, looking up at the night sky, like not fitting in, feeling like the absolute outcast.
Yeah.
And I remember like looking up at the night sky, pleading. I don't think it was out loud, but going like, "Take me home," because I felt like I was from
another planet.
From somewhere else. And I did actually physically stand outside and have that thought. And then when I went to drama school, I was like, these are my people. These are my people, and I might have met more of them, although I did school plays. I also went to all boys schools, which would have been different from like a co-ed thing where I might have actually developed more, socially and generally speaking, had I been at a co-ed school. But drama school, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes sense. These people speak my language.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm home,
Yeah.
Glorious.
Well, Jay and I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Totes.
Totes.
Totes. Yeah.
I haven't heard totes in a while. I like
no,
totes.
it's not.
I guess I'm bringing it back.
It's not. No, we don't need to bring it. Let's leave it where we found it.
So we're gonna get. I'll take you back to Mel's. Take us back to Mel's.
It's back to Mel's.
So I applied, got all my press together, and I'd had a lot of press, and I was fortunate. So I put together my package.
Now, when you say press, what did that look like? What was the year? Was this 1990 something?
1952. When was this? This was maybe 2001, perhaps.
Okay.
It took a while just to get stuff together, and then it sort of goes through various phases.
So what's press look like in 2001? Print, lithographic.
Like reviews.
Oh, yeah, the theater.
What, man? You're not a 15-year-old. You know what?
No, I just want what it look. I know what it looks like today for the kids out there. For Jay, who wasn't around.
Newspaper clippings.
Reviews, photos.
Oh, for the kids, for the children. When people had to think for newspaper. So you had newspaper reviews from
Joburg,
and then I had some interviews. There was like something in FHM, that was a magazine back in the day, which is a sort of scantily clad women and interviews with celebrities.
And why were you in there? Were you scantily clad, or were you a celebrity?
The men weren't scantily clad, were they? I don't think so. But no, I was in there because they were talking about careers. They had like a segment on like each month or something, and it was like the voice artist, and it was interviewing me.
Oh, that's cool.
What is that?
That's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
You were doing voice before anybody was doing voice, man.
Before anybody. No,
Before
there were
it was
definitely
cool.
people way ahead of me. But I was very fortunate. There was a gentleman called Bill Flynn, who was a legendary actor in South Africa. And he was the dame in the first professional thing I did, which was like a Christmas musical, right? And he played the dame, and
The
I did
Panto
something
Dame.
on it. It's the Panto, thank you.
Right.
And
Nice.
which was ironically was called Sinbad's African Adventures. But look, we were in Africa, so. But anyway, so I did some like stand-up shtick
awesome.
during some set changes and played a couple of characters and sang, and he very generously introduced me to his agent, and they signed me, and then I was on my my merry way. But what was really cool was actually I got to work with him a couple of times later on some other theater stuff. Him and Paul Slebelepsy, who's still around, who's like the biggest playwright, I guess, next to Athol Fugard in South Africa.
Okay.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
So they were like mentors, friends.
Yeah, absolutely,
Helped
huge mentors. In fact, I remember speaking to Paul Slab before, when I was trying to make my decision to, should I come to the States, should I go? And he was like, "Man, do it, man. I've got like a family now, and obviously I'm here, but if you've got the chance, you should go, because then I didn't want to wake up 10 years down the line going, what if, and now it's too late, sort of thing.
Yep.
So yeah, yeah.
So you get out. So now you're in California, and were you going primarily for voice, or did
Primarily
you have a
for
plan?
Mel's Diner. And
Just
once
for
I
the
found it there, then I
Blue
then I
Plate
left.
special.
You left.
I was back home.
I was
12-hour
going-
flight.
I wanted to do more on camera.
Right.
That really was the goal, and most of the on camera, I'd gotten to work on some interesting visiting British and American productions, not necessarily the most exciting stuff, but I was like, oh no, this is great. I love this, and I was fortunate that I could pull off a plausible American accent, so I got to work on those things, and being a character-y sort of guy, I found a fair amount of work. And then I was like, you know what? No, let's go do it, man. I mean, where are you going to go? Am I going to go to, because there was, maybe I should go to London first, because I'm a British citizen and, it might be easier, but it's like, but it'll only be a stepping stone to going to the States. And I don't want to like emigrate once and then emigrate again. And it's just, it just seems too much. Already I'm like, my late 20s thinking about this. So I was like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So I arrived. I had one friend who I knew, who was also a former South African, and she and her husband were, been living in LA. He's from the States, and they had like a little production company, and they were doing stuff, and I was sort of helping, just like some rudimentary whatever, helped them like casting assistant for for this horror movie they were doing at the time.
Classic.
And exactly. And then
what was kind of your first big job then, or when did you start rolling? Things kind of start rolling.
My first. So I would pay to get the breakdowns,
right?
Like
surreptitiously from the
and I'd scour them, surreptitiously, and I'd go, I'd hop on, I'd get my sort of email with what was, coming out that day or whatever it was, or the night before, I forget. But I'd sort of go along and have a look, and I go, okay, this is here, this is there, and obviously some places you couldn't get on the lot anyways, right? And so I would try and hand deliver most of my stuff, because I figured if I mail stuff, it's not going to get opened. It's not coming from freaking fancy agency,
William Morris agents or something.
Yeah, so I would drive around hand delivering stuff in envelopes, but I'd print the labels. I'd make it look at least, half legit. And, in the days when I miss, man, 8x10s, you'd have your 8x10s.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories would be like stocking up on my, headshots and resumes. And I'd go to Kinko's and I'd print out my resume and hey, I've got a new thing. So you type it on your computer and like print a new one out, and then, print a bunch at Kinko's and then staple top and bottom. Anyway, so I'd go and hand deliver these things.
Yeah.
And
I remember those days.
Oh man. And I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm an actor, but I didn't sort of pretend to be like, I didn't dress up like the UPS guy either, but I would go wearing something like sort of very generic, like, hey, I got a drop off. You know, and sometimes maybe like 30% of the time they'd let me in. You know, security would let me in, and then I could like pop it under a door. Once in a while, I could put it in a an inbox tray. And the first job I booked was, it's amazing how you remember this stuff, right? How visceral it is. And I don't know how long I'd been doing this particular thing for, but you know, certainly several months. But I dropped it off. Now I have this like geographic amnesia. Trying to think which lot it was, but I dropped it off.
Yeah.
Got out like swiftly, because then I always had the sense that like someone's gonna like go like, "Hey, where are you?"
What are you doing?
Kind of thing. I was trying to, like blend into the crowd, and
Yeah.
then, like thanks to security, and then like sort of hop into my car, go,
Yeah, chase you down with a golf cart.
yeah, and I like sort of driving my beaten Volvo 240. I remember I got
Screeching
like
off the lot.
3 blocks away.
Yeah.
Because obviously I wasn't parked on the lot, right? But I got like 3 blocks away, and my cell phone rang, because wasn't that long ago. I did have a cell phone.
Okay.
And it was like casting saying, "Hey, we'd like to bring Gideon in for the role of whatever on this
Oh my
show."
gosh.
And I was like, yeah, not a problem. Okay,
Yeah.
what time? You know, and I booked that job.
Wow.
And the job was Commander-in-Chief, and Gina Davis played the president. And Donald Sutherland was like Speaker of the House or something. And my scene was with him, and then who else was it? Who's the actress? Is terrible. It's because she's done so much obviously since then. Instinct, I think it was.
Demi Moore.
It was like one of those like sort of Rebecca Romaine Stamos type people, not her. Somebody like that.
Right. Okay.
Terrible. I can't remember. But like
not that visceral an experience, but yeah.
No, but stupidly good looking. Where you're like,
but Demi Moore. No. Basic Instinct. No.
No, no. It was like when she was an alien. It was not Basic Instinct. No.
Oh, Anyway, okay.
Sigourney Weaver. No.
No, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
The blonde.
Really cool. This is the problem. Blonde. Yeah. I'll anyway. We'll find it. What did I say?
Theme of the topic for this podcast: memory. I love it.
Yeah,
this is why you have to have
it's
your.
Fine. We'll get to it, but it was a great experience.
And then I went up on my lines in front of Donald Sutherland because I was
nervous,
starstruck.
Yeah.
By him.
For audiences, going up on your lines means you forget what you're supposed to say.
And Natasha Henstridge.
That's
Species.
The one. Species. I knew that's the one.
Yeah.
She was smoking hot.
Yeah. And then what happened was we did the rehearsal for camera, and I was this environmentalist called Jared, and the whole thing was like, I think like Sutherland was always like pitting against Gina Davis or whatever, and the political thing of pulling me in was to talk about the environmental impact of this oil tanker, which was leaking off the coast of Florida or something. And my character had this thing where I had like a map of Florida, and then for demonstration purposes, like literally at this like live news conference, I had this like what is it, like a I won't say not a base, but a thing of syrup. What do you put syrup in?
Syrup. The thing.
Pitcher.
Yeah, the pitcher. The container.
Let's call it a pitcher. So so the thing was, there's the map of Florida
Dispenser.
like this, and I have to like sort of pour what was like maple syrup, but to give the analogy of oil, destroying Florida's
coating the state of Florida in oil. Okay.
Yeah. And
you blew it?
The line was and what happened was
now you remember it.
No, I remember the line, and I kept that. I still have it. In fact, if with the magic of TV and film and editing, I could run out and probably grab it. I think I still have it folded in my jacket pocket.
It's fine.
My sides from that scene.
You still have
it? Oh my gosh!
That was my first gig, and I kept it, because it had some sentimental value. But So there's these photographers, right? A bunch of background actors were there with cameras going click, 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 because it's a news conference. It's a setup. But they're just holding these, fake dummy cameras, right? Nothing's happening. That's the one we do for camera, right? So then when we go to do the take, now they've got flashes. Nobody said, by the way, which they would, of course, to a politician, now watch out for this.
If you have epilepsy.
So, yeah, by the way. But fortunately, I don't. But then suddenly, there's my line, and then they go, and it flashed my line right out of my head. And the line also was not an easy one. So I'm pouring the maple syrup, and the line is, as cavalierly as this. Cavalierly?
Yeah.
I mean, who
Cavalierly.
says that?
Cavalierly.
That's
Cavalierly. Like a tongue twister. Yeah.
Cavalierly. It's a hard one. And
Could
then
be your
for
brother.
a Brit doing an American accent, it was like
Cavalierly.
Because I want to caver. I want to put an extra R in there. Caver.
So you stumbling the line every time, every take, and you're stumbling it?
I did it like it went out of my head, and then I had to call for the line. And I was
what did Sutherland do?
Sutherland didn't do anything at all. He was a gentleman. But,
he didn't give you a look like amateur hour.
I don't think, not that I saw, no.
Okay, but overall, great experience, and that's a huge first. Like, wow, my big film, and here I am. Opposite some stars, and
like a one day guesty type thing. But
just
it was
a little kid, a little English kid from Joburg. And here I am now in a big movie.
And here I am, and then I remember, I think one of my next jobs was CSI New York, also a guest star, and it's a bit with Sinise. I remember Gary Sinise, like wow, what a nice guy,
Yeah.
Because certainly there's some a-holes in the business for sure, as we all know.
Yeah.
And usually they're the people who aren't bigger names. It's like series regs
Right.
on some TV shows where you haven't seen them since that show, and not necessarily the ones who are headlining those shows. But there may be like 3 or 4 on the call sheet. And I remember just like real.
Yeah, and you go, really?
Unpleasant folks, like why, And Gary's like talking to me like in between. Gary, like I'm Mr. Sinise. He's talking to me in between, takes, and I think there was a moving camera or something. So he's like, so hey, so where are you from? And I'm sharing stuff with him and stuff. It's like, man, that's that takes guts, because I remember I was thinking about coming to LA. I was like, yeah, no, I can't do it. I'm going to New York, or Chicago, I was like, man, and he's like, he's like an intense dude, to look at. He's like physically,
right? Yeah.
It's like he sort of locks you in, but like he was just like so warm and genuine and stuff. That felt like a really special.
So your agents are happy.
Yeah, I had my first rep was a manager. Who was referred to me by a friend of mine, and she had this deep, like crackly, well, not deep, but it was a crackly voice. It sounded like a smoker voice, and she's like, her first question was like, "Do you have a lot of credits? Have you got a lot of credits?"
That's the typical agent voice.
And it sounds like no, and I mean, make it sound like she's on The Simpsons or something.
Yeah.
But, I had a resume which was, had credits, but most of those credits, right? But most of my credits didn't mean anything because they were from, South Africa largely, and then there was, a couple of BBC things, but they weren't, things that had sort of hit in the States. So to all intents and purposes, I may as well have made them up. I probably should have embellished.
Yeah.
But that was funny. But yes, the agents then I had at the time of CSI New York were definitely happy, and they were good agents at the time, for sure.
They filmed CSI New York in LA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything. Yeah. Everything back then. And we're talking about the early 2000s, right? The noughties.
Yeah, so that probably would have been maybe 05 or something, perhaps.
And you're still doing voice at the same time now, and that's going well.
So I got, I did one of those actor things. Because we're talking about the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did one of those things where I'd asked this guy, jeepers, this is funny. This was, I may as well say it all. So I did a movie in South Africa, a TV movie, a movie of the week. Do they still do movies of the week? I don't know. I don't think they call them MOWs anymore. That's probably like in the days of streaming, everything's an MOW now.
Yeah, everything.
By comparison. But anyways, it was Lou Diamond Phillips and Christy Swanson.
Yes.
Who was Buffy at some stage, and what was so Christy's manager at the time was on set with her like the whole time and hanging out, and I was chatting to him some, and he was like, yeah, you should give me a call when we're because I was thinking it was the same year. It was the year I moved to the States, so I knew I got my green card, and I knew I was gonna be, and then it was just a question of me booking my ticket to go. And I remember going to Dimples.
Okay.
There was this karaoke bar in Burbank called Dimples, which was very famous, and then it was demolished. I don't know, about a decade ago or something, and they built some big something or other. But it was on like what was it, Pass or something? One of those big roads. No, Olive, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of those ones. The ones if you guys sort of drive past the Warner mural and stuff, and you head on towards.
Okay, so you were at Dimples.
Burbank Hills.
And
So I went to Dimples. No, but I remember going there. Lou Diamond Phillips, he gave me his number. Right. I called him, and to his credit, he called me back like the day after I arrived. I was like, "Hey, we're gonna go to Dimples." So he got like half of the cast from this TV movie, and went and sang karaoke.
Oh my God!
What does that got to do anything? Oh, because Christy's manager then introduced me to a voice agent, and then I lost touch with him, and then I was like, stuff it, and I did the thing that I would highly recommend no actor does today. And I said, hey, referred by this guy on the envelope, and submitted my stuff. But it was because he had said he was going to, so I felt it was kind of okay. I sort of
and it worked.
And I got in, and they signed me, and then I started doing some. I remember I did like a Mini Cooper, the launch of Mini Cooper in the States. I did like radio spots for them, and then I went to another voice agency, and then started doing games, and then that was like this real niche for me VO wise, because I did like lots of accents and stuff, and that was pretty cool because they had like a lot of like promo and trailer voice guys, but I was sort of something like slightly different, I guess, with
the accents and
the
character voices,
stuff. So then I found like that was stuff I was booking,
Good.
So,
that's the way to do LA, I think. In those days, that would have been, because that's bread and butter work, and that's work you can do to keep you from having to wait tables. And
I was very. I mean, it's all been quite fortuitous in that in that respect. It's like because as much as like there's no residuals on games. That's that's one unfortunate thing. I found myself getting into rooms, and it seemed like quite a small group of casting directors for games, and the casting directors are oftentimes the directors of the
game
voice
director
sections, so
kind of once you're in with those people, you're in
business sort of thing. Like the people who do looping, it's like it's its own niche. It's like I tried to get in there, like here and there, and I was like, always on the periphery. Similar with animation. It's like, people who do like anime and it's its own thing. There's some people who manage to straddle it all, but I found my sort of niche doing the games, and that's been pretty good. And then I mean, it really has been a saver. And also voiceover for my whole career really has been my support, my bread and butter. And that affords me the luxury to keep acting, if you will, at least on camera, or, doing theater from time to time. I have done theater in forever, but certainly when I started out,
You definitely sound like a hustler. Would you color yourself that way?
I think I was a hustler when I arrived in LA, for sure, for sure. I could probably afford to hustle more, but the older I get, the less inclined I am to want to hustle. And then also because I'm a dad, I have less desire to do the kinds of stuff I was willing to do or even wanted to do, in some respects, like I really enjoy, being a dad and doing dad stuff. But obviously, I still got to make a living and put my kids through school and stuff too. So,
and you're married?
Yeah, and I'm married. Yeah.
Where and when did you meet your wife?
Where and when? Oh, how funny is this? So I actually met my wife at a hotel cafe.
At another cafe.
Which
hotel cafe is
which brings us back to our friend Babs, who has some history there.
So should we start with how did you meet Babson?
So James Babson, one of my best buddies. Yeah,
no, he's one of my best buddies.
He's mine, man. I did so in the days of my still self-submitting for projects. Now, of course, I just peruse scripts. It's like I can't stand people who say that. It's like no, you don't. If you're like a legit like A-lister, you're looking at stuff. Otherwise, you're all
offer only. That's what I told my.
It's like it's
offer
such
only.
Nonsense. I remember seeing. I watched. I guess it was a podcast. I guess, but we're talking like probably 15 years ago. And I remember it was in the States, and they were asking some actress like, "How do you choose your projects?" And she's like, "Well, I was like." Rubbish. It's like what you book. If you get cast,
it chooses me.
That's what you chose. It's like no, you're not like
unless you're Julia Roberts or something.
Exactly.
All right. So hotel cafe. You mean
yes. So I went to go watch a band, and I had We have a mutual friend, my wife and I. I did not know this at the time, and her name is Karma. That is her given name, Karma. And she was a musician in South Africa, beautiful musician, really lovely singer-songwriter, this delicate voice. Oh my gosh. If you want to look her up, she had a band called Henry 8, but 8-E, as in 8.
Right, okay.
Henry 8.
Yeah, Henry 8. And they were huge in like 90s in South Africa. She actually just had a new release now because she like, she still plays, but more for pleasure than anything else.
Right.
Anyways, she was there, and she knew a musician who was performing there, and my now wife was the girlfriend of one of the musos. So that's the.
Okay, so you went to see
how we met.
Karma.
I went to go see,
and she was there.
Karma.
Your wife was there to see her boyfriend.
The band, and my my wife now was there to support the band. Yeah.
And James at the time, I guess, was working the door. He works the door. He used to work the door at Hotel Cafe.
Correct,
The working actor guy.
Back in the day. Now, how did I meet James? James. I was self-submitting for stuff, and I submitted for this non-union project, and it was a sci-fi movie, and it was going to be filming in Czech Republic. And I submitted, and then I got called into audition, and went to audition, and a callback on like Sunset at some office, and then I booked the gig. And I was like, okay, this is super cool. I was like so jazzed, and get to go to Prague. It's incredible. So I remember having like sitting down with like the one producer for like lunch or something, and then this guy comes by. He's like swinging by with like satchel, and he's like, "Hey, hi, I'm James," and it's James Babson. It's like, wow, there's like American who's like living here, and it seemed like wild, at the time.
Right.
To think there might be, American actors living there, and of course he was not alone, right? But yeah, and then off he went. And I was like, oh, it seems like a nice guy. And then thank goodness he was on that shoot, because it was a bit loosey-goosey.
What was the movie?
Movie was called Black Box. and it never saw the light of day
Okay.
outside
I don't
of
remember that one.
Japan.
Black box.
Yeah, basically it was. Do you remember the days of like sort of recovered footage?
Right.
Movies? So that was that
Yeah.
genre.
Oh,
right?
like is it Cloverfield? That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Like
like Cloverfield. I wish it was Cloverfield.
Yeah.
I
But
might have
But it's
made
black.
some
like Cloverfield, but
Yeah,
terrible.
like Cloverfield. It was before Cloverfield, ironically.
Right.
Huh.
By like
So-
I don't know, maybe 2 years or something.
Yeah.
But it was a novel concept. Basically, it was like you had like a couple astronauts and some cosmonauts on a space station, and then there's some weird stuff goes down. Is there some alien life form that
Right.
somehow connected with them? But you didn't see any aliens. It was more, they started sort of, were they communicating with them
Yeah,
or something? And
yeah,
everyone starts behaving a little weird and then it sort of leans into kind of.
And Babson was one of
Right.
the like a cosmonaut with you.
So he
astronaut?
was the astronaut. I was representing the ESA,
Okay.
European Space Agency, and then there were 3 Russians, Russian actors playing.
Well, the crazy
cosmonauts.
stuff that we ended up having to do in Prague was, but you
It
got a
was
free trip
great.
out of it
I got a free trip
and some experience.
and in this old castle, Ližno.
Yeah.
And
And
the
you made a
court
friend.
we stayed, and I made a friend. But we stayed in a castle,
Yeah.
and then in the courtyard they'd built this set, and it was a full-on space station set. And it was
Oh,
beautifully
that's
done.
cool.
It was incredible. Like the detail was superb.
Huh.
But it was a trippy experience because they chose not to like film any of it because it was recovered footage. We would have a personal log camera where we would sit down each day, and our characters would like share stuff to like send them home, if you will.
We lost your audio there a bit.
Oh,
what's happened to you?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Got
Okay.
me?
Yeah.
So there was like a personal log camera which the characters would speak into to send messages home or share like
Yeah.
stuff, mentally that was going on. And then my character was documenting stuff. So I was basically DP or operator, if you will.
Yeah.
On this thing. So that was kind of stressful, but I was the only like roaming camera on this thing. They didn't like have like explode away sections where they would film anything.
Right.
But they had like, CCTV kind of footage at, either end of the different like modules of the space station. And they would just be sort of, I guess, like sort of vision mixing between these things. And the director on like,
Trippy.
horn saying, okay, just do, and then do this and do another one or whatever. And it was wild. We had like, they'd come up with fresh pages on a given day. And they're like, oh, hey, here's a new like personal log for you. And like a monologue of like a
Right.
page. You've got like
Yeah.
a page warm. They've literally just printed it out.
The
Like, up
page
there.
is warm. Yeah.
Are you kidding me, man? But it was an interesting acting exercise. And if I hadn't, I guess, had my sort of training and stuff, I might have drowned, but not even my stellar performance could save the day.
Not couldn't even
But
say it.
no, it was interesting, and it I don't know, it didn't get I guess they didn't sell it domestically, and I think they probably could have, they just didn't.
Yeah, those things happen. of
Whatever,
course,
you know
yeah.
what it is, it's like some stuff just
distribution.
doesn't take,
Was
But
James,
then Cloverfield came
upset?
out like 2 years later, and I was like,
Right.
that's our freaking movie, but with like a big budget.
Wow.
It wasn't. I mean, there was like monsters and stuff. It was like
Yeah.
what was
yeah.
it? It was like but it was similar in terms of recovered footage. Sorry.
Well, all right. So I just wanted to kind of figure out how things ended
How
up
you
for
met your wife.
Yeah.
How we wrapped
Oh, we got that part.
this week's.
But in general, so you're based now. You've kind of switched away, and you've gone over to New York and also Europe back. So when did you leave, sort of L.A.?
Oh, now? Oh, we're talking about some moving forward. So I was in
Yes, please.
LA for about 17 years.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the East Coast. 2015, I was in New York for a beat and tried to make things happen there, but I kept finding myself going back to LA, with my wife. And then it was like, man, it's tough. It's it's and we probably should have stayed,
Yeah.
because I mean, New York spoke to me in a way that LA didn't.
You enjoyed it more.
Yeah, I felt like home.
Yeah,
in
the
a sense. I
vibe.
just felt, and I have like a love affair with Facebook and oh my gosh, Central Park, and then
Right.
I bought a folding bicycle Since you guys are in, or like London based, it's like a Brompton, so obviously they're throw a stick and you'll hit a dozen of them, and I love it so much. I bought it from a guy in Harlem off Craigslist, and that was me. I was like cycling around Manhattan on my on my Brompton, like, get out of my way, like slapping on taxis, and and I loved it. I loved the energy, but it was I kept going back to LA, so I went back to LA, and then eventually after our kiddo was born, then we moved back to moved to the East Coast, bit in New York, and then a bit in New Jersey. COVID kind of moved us to New Jersey.
What does your wife do?
Recovering actor and a writer.
Okay.
Yeah. And former dancer. Yeah.
Okay. So she gets you to some degree.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no. She did her LA time too. So yeah. She moved to LA the same year I did, funny enough, although we didn't meet until,
Is she South African as well?
No, she's American.
Okay. She just was a fan of Karma. Or the boyfriend was her boyfriend.
Well,
at the time was
yeah,
in
but
the band.
she's a fan of Karma too. But yes, yeah.
Okay. So you married American. You became an American, I assume.
I became an American.
They let you in?
I didn't get. They let me in. My buddy, I know when he became a citizen, he got this letter, which says, congratulations, on becoming a citizen, signed by the president.
Right.
So his was like signed by Obama. Now, look, obviously, Obama wasn't hand signing these things, but still,
Really?
it was like, wow, what a beautiful thing, that's something like I would frame.
Yeah.
I was when I became a citizen, it was a different administration.
They didn't bother.
I didn't get the letter, and
They weren't as welcoming.
I was okay with that.
As the Obamas.
But
well, I've got a letter from the Queen.
You do?
Welcome me, and a photograph of me standing next to a photograph of the Queen.
Well, a photograph of you standing next to a photograph of the Queen. Okay.
Yeah.
But you got the letter.
And I have the letter framed that says, "Welcome to the country. Please pay your taxes."
I saw you from a distance, and you came to Windsor Castle, and you were walking through the classroom with the flag hanging down.
A British. Yeah.
You have to pledge your loyalty.
I did.
Get on a knee.
I didn't have to get on a knee, but I did have to pledge my loyalty to Queen and Crown. But now that she's gone, I never pledged my loyalty to Charles. So they don't got me now. Only to the Queen, and now she's gone. But so that's a magic moment for me. It's just funny to see how that these days, particularly, more global citizens and the movement of the chess pieces around the board, as it were, and particularly with actors. And so I'm always fascinated with an actor that starts in one place, works in another, and then ends up in a third place, and is still managing to make a living and to do well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely, I think VO, like I say, VO's played a big part of my career since I started. And the evolution of home setup and this kind of stuff, it was way pre-COVID. Like the agents I was with for VO were like encouraging you to get a home setup. And I remember I had like an M box, which came bundled with Pro Tools and and I hated Pro Tools.
Figure out how to work Pro Tools.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just need one track, and
I'm not an audio engineer. I'm not trying to make music.
Yeah. And then of course you discover like Audacity or something, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
The beauty and simplicity of Audacity.
Yeah. So yeah, the ability to do remote stuff, which basically that was, but it was more for like, I guess, auditions, right? Because it saved you driving through the LA traffic. And then obviously you would go in and do the gig, and obviously, evolution of stuff's, before COVID and definitely through COVID and beyond is like, okay, well, if you've got proper setup and decent mic and controlled room, then you can
you can work
a lot of stuff from pretty much wherever.
But that must have been odd for you because you were already really pretty well established as a voice artist. Now, see, with COVID, what happened was so many actors crammed into that space as quickly as they could because there was no other work. Did you find that you were being a bit marginalized there, or did you manage to hold on?
I mean, it was an interesting period. I mean, obviously, I was, quick to remind my peeps that, I had a home set up because I did.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, sort of, what are we going to do? And then, I remember reading on stuff and, like I still do, I get sent voice auditions and I remember during COVID, they were like, okay, well then they would deliver a, hermetically sealed kit and then talk you through how to use it. I remember thinking like, losers, I already have this stuff. But no, I didn't think that. But I remember thinking like, man, that's pretty impressive. And I was like, maybe I want the kit. Maybe I want to like check that out. Maybe they've got
right.
Maybe
it's better than mine.
I send my 103 back in the box. They'll never know. It wasn't. I mean, it was okay. It was okay. There was some game stuff. I think the game stuff from home is trickier because you're looking at in LA sessions anyways. It's a 4-hour session.
Yeah.
So you're working like 9 to 1 or 2 to 6, and they're long sessions. And it's nice not to have to worry about all the other tech side of stuff.
And stuff.
Yeah, you want to just
have a director there,
streams of dialogue and that kind of stuff because it's just you. You're not working in an ensemble, so you're gonna bust through and the kind of gamey stuff that I've booked a bunch of is less of it now, but it's like, man, you're gonna go through 400 lines or something, and a lot of it might be projected, and it's just like I don't want to be like, oh, okay, we clipped there, okay, hold on, let me just adjust here.
Am I doing it right?
And it just makes
You've done a ton of video games. How many video games do you think you've done?
I mean, it's like 170 something.
170 something.
Wow. Something like that. It's a lot of games.
Are the nerds onto you? Have you got like a nerd following? Comic-Con.
I had no, there's definitely some. There's some folks who who follow me on like social media. I'm not as active as I used to be.
Yeah.
But for like games and then more since like Teen Wolf, which is
right. That's a bit of a
years ago, but I was like a
Jay loves
recurring baddie in that, and
yeah,
that was huge. That exploded my mind. But I
really?
do remember like the biggest game at the time. I did Final Fantasy 12, and I was this character Balthier who was very charming.
You were. I knew I recognized you.
Oh, here we go.
Love your work.
Thank you.
Jay's a big games head.
A big gamer, yeah.
And that was, I mean, I
you
think
it
was,
like him.
Purely by chance, obviously.
Was that your big guy? That's your big character? That's the one
that was the first big thing. And I remember Jack Fletcher, who was the VO director for the English side of things, said, now just get ready, because you'll probably get some attention, from this, and you probably get people emailing you and asking funny stuff and whatever. And I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't think, because I didn't really know.
It's just voice, isn't it?
Franchise.
Yeah. And you're thinking,
I
it's just my voice. How they gonna?
I'd done, a handful of games before, but not like, like a leading role, if you will. Ironically, Balthier calls himself the leading man, but he was not. He was a supporting character, but yeah, I mean, that was interesting. That like, okay, wow, there is some attention that, and then like other stuff like Dragon Age was huge, another big one.
Right.
Played this character Fenris, who you could romance, whether you were male or female, and that was like, I was like, oh wow, like I knew like this is groundbreaking stuff, and like this is really good to be a part of, and the writing was really good too. So I mean, even like whatever, 160 odd games later or 150 games later, people still talk about like those two. Very much like Dragon Age is like a big.
Jay, you all right? You need a cool drink?
No, great. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. The first Dragon Age, like that's the one you were in, right? I'm trying to remember.
Dragon Age 2 was Fenris.
But you did a bunch of Star Wars and stuff too, didn't you? Star Wars guy.
I've done some Star Wars. Yeah, I've done some Star Wars games, and I did some stuff on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the series.
Okay.
That was really cool. That was ensemble stuff. That was like very
You
rare
like the
occasion.
ensemble, huh? You do like.
Well, it's nice if you can play off somebody. You know, it's
Yeah.
like like almost all of the games except for one. You know, you're just working alone in a booth. You know, so it's and most of the time they don't have the other actors' lines recorded to.
No, I know
feed.
how it works. Yeah, I've done it
You know,
myself.
so
and
it's yeah. So I mean, for like
it's
folks
not.
listening, it's like it's always a surprise. I think to people who
You
play
get in a room with others and
to
you
know
go.
that yeah, and you've got like the directors, you know, just reading, you know, maybe the
Yeah,
you know your cue,
feeding
and then
you
you're
in.
giving like an you know an ABC, and then you know doing something else, and thank goodness I don't have to like edit it all together and make it sound like we were actually in the same room. You know, I'm not talking about quality, but in terms of like you know projection and does it really sound like we're connecting? Is that chemistry and this sort of stuff? You know, which is why I like mocap. I found myself at a kind of a sweet point in time in I guess the mid 2000s, you know, where I started to do mocap, but then there was this trend because initially they were getting, you know, people in Asia to do the mocap, and then they were just dubbing it, right?
Yeah.
Or animating that and then just dubbing it, and then there was like, okay, let's get actors to do the mocap, but they wanted to get like on-camera actors or theater-trained actors, so they're not going to the VO guys because there's not the assumption is that VO guys are like, welcome back to KCR 5. Tonight we've got you know that they can't take direction maybe or something, and then of course there's like stunt casting and all that sort of stuff, right? You know, are you going to recognize Gary Oldman doing you know a voice in Call of Duty?
Right.
You recognize Kiefer probably, but you know that sort of stuff. But they're getting like the on-camera people, and it's like, well, I'd done on-camera too, so it was good that I was like, I had this VO experience. I'd done like a bunch of games already in terms of VO, but I'm an on-camera guy and theater trained guy, so it was like this sort of sweet spot where then I kind of got into do some where then, you know, you get to do both of it. It's like theater in the round, and it's like, it's the hardest work I think. To do in terms of the stuff that I do as an actor because it's you got all you know the suit and it's cumbersome and you've got your helmet and the camera's here the whole time and wherever you know and you've got to be off book for like you know reams of material because you get through so much more than you would in an on-camera shoot because there's no like camera setups. The cameras are rolling, you're just data in a volume of space, so they only need one take. They can choose in post the angles, establishing, you know, close and all the coverage and stuff. So there's no like, oh, we'll pick it up in your close-up. It's like, no, they need one perfect take where all the actors are nail it. So it's like you've got to be like so on it, you know. But it's super fun. It's super fun, and
that's a real exercise. That's a real acting exercise.
Yeah, you know, and it's kind of nice where you get to sort of, oh wow, I get to sort of use all my
every
tools. Yeah.
What's the most fun role?
What's the most money you've ever made in a single year? I keep seeing that thing on my Instagram feed. It just pops up. Doesn't it annoy you? You must have seen that. Like, hey, how are you? And he's like pulls up to some guy.
I don't get that one.
Some Lambo. I don't know. There's like
I
this
get the
young
one
kid.
that's like, have you sorted out your will yet?
Shoot.
Really? I just get animals.
Yeah, I get
note to self.
I get old man stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I got a thing from AARP in like the fourth year I was in LA, and I was like, guys, I'm not ready for this just yet. It's like, are you kidding me? Meanwhile, now I'm like, keep. Where's my little beeper? I've fallen. I can't get up. Sorry, I digress.
Now, well, because I was going to ask. Essentially, you're a funny guy. I mean,
I started out in stand-up comedy as well. How funny is that? But nobody ever cast me in comedy in
well, that's
LA
what I'm
because I got like charactery face, and for LA I'm not pretty enough to be considered.
Yeah, it's similar with me.
Affair, you know?
Yeah, I prefer the comedy, but I always ended up with the military roles and all this kind of stuff because of the jaw.
Yeah. You know,
The high cheekbones and the square
cheekbone.
jaw.
Someone
That
said
does.
these were surgically enhanced. I filled in for a character on a soap once. It was like on General Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember I had a ticket back to South Africa to go see my folks for Christmas, and then I got called in. I was like, "Hey, can you fill in for this actor, and he's unavailable right now, and there was some scheduling conflict or whatever, and he was like, I'm on holiday or whatever."
Right.
And there were like 3 episodes, so I had to like approximate his, it's like kind of impersonate but not, because it's clearly a different guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But it was literally, I walked on, and then I had to stop at the doorway for like my opening scene, and literally the thing comes on the tannoy or whatever, like, today the part of Jax will be played by Gideon Emery, and then it's like, take that beat, and then like I did
Oh
the
my
thing with my
God.
head as well.
I didn't even
And
know
then
they
I
did that.
stepped in. I know, it's so trippy. Anyways, so I do 3 episodes of this thing, and then I go, arrive late for my Christmas holiday, see family and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, the thing airs, and I'm like, let me hop online and
See what
check
the
the
what's the
forum or whatever
buzz.
and see what the buzz is, right? First time doing something like that. I'm like, slaughtered. It's so bad. It is so
They hated you.
bad. They hated me. Now, look, the guy I was filling in for, was
Beloved.
4 inches, 6 inches taller than me.
Right.
He's like 6'2" or something. Stupidly good looking soapy actor.
Yeah.
And beloved.
Yeah.
I'm filling in, and the comments are so bad. Where they're like,
Oh
how
no.
can she kiss him? He's so ugly. His cheeks.
This sounds like one of my
Clearly
stories.
surgically enhanced, and I was like offended, and then I was like angered,
Sure.
And I had a blog at the time,
Right.
and I remember on my blog I did like a post, but I didn't have any like readership of this blog. It's like it was,
Right. Just
maybe like a dozen people a month or something probably read this thing. I mean, legit. I'm not
friends. Yeah.
Trying to belittle it, but someone somewhere, I guess, found it, and then I got a call from my agent. I didn't know it was connected, but then I pieced it together.
Yeah.
A call from my agent saying, "Hey, TV Digest or whatever,
right,
wants a picture of you, because they're doing some bit about General Hospital or something, or
guys that ruin General Hospital. They're doing a bit about actors
anyway,
that ruin
and then, of course,
soap operas.
So then I'm like, what is this? So then I go. I mean, I know what Reader's Digest is, or whatever it is, Soap Digest, one of those things, right?
Yeah.
Not Reader's Digest.
Yeah,
those little things, right? You'd find at
the
the
checkout aisle at the supermarket. Yeah.
So I hunt it down, right? I'm like, what is it? And it was like, angry actor hits back at fans. I'm like, geez, man. Could have given me the heads up that I was giving
They're trying to sell their rags.
Like, yeah, of course, but my response was to like a few people. I was like, hey, you know what? My cheeks, they really are my God-given cheeks, and like, I'm sure we'd all love to be, better looking or whatever. If there's something I'd change about myself, it would be my calves. I got these skinny calves. My dad has these meaty footballer calves, and he, never played sport or really worked out much. But I got my mom's calves.
Trying to be a little funny, trying to be a little
that was literally my bit on the blog.
Yeah.
But it was funny that it became this sort of, well.
Did you keep the copy of that? Now that's the thing I would keep. I would have kept a copy of Soap.
That would be funny to have now, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
I would kill to have that kind of press.
You
know, now that should go in
keep-
your press package.
That should go in my press package. What I do keep, I like call sheets. So I like to keep
Yeah,
like that one
I keep those
sheet
too.
where you've got
That's smart.
And then I call the numbers. Like years later, I call the numbers on there, and I go,
Be on my podcast.
Oh, cool. That.
You want to be on my podcast? And I go, who's
It's
this?
always nice.
Click.
It's always nice on the call sheet where it's like you, and there's a couple people, and then it's you, but you're like 56. you know, but you get to work with sort of 2 and 3 maybe, and the rest of the cast aren't working. But you know, those are the ones to keep.
Yeah.
Where you know you don't have
Your
to sort of
name
delve
is
down to the very bottom, you know, just above like XX, which is stunts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
No, those are good. Those are good to have. Yeah. So
I
you've
do
never
appreciate
done any
stunts.
comedy on camera. You've never been cast. Is that
Have I
something
done
you'd like to
comedy
do?
on camera?
I mean, I'm sure you would.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like now I don't know what I would do necessarily, but funnily enough, I got bored. I really wanted to do some comedy, and I don't know, midway through my LA tenure, I started this show called ENN with Ed Newsbit,
Right.
and he's like a mock
Mockumentary guy.
late night show host. You know.
Okay. Yeah, I know that name, Ed Nesbitt, right? Was that what you said?
Ed Newsbit. So it was like
Newsbit, is it?
Neus, but the
Yeah.
idea was like it's a bit of news, right? And I was like, hello and welcome back to ENN with Ed Newsbit. I'm Ed Newsbit today, you know. And then I'd go through like the last week's stories and find like 5 or 6, you know, quirky ones, you know, and then there might be one where like I had a comment on something that was more serious perhaps, but for the most part it was, you know, like Amazon were experimenting with drones for delivery of packages and stuff, and so I went out. It's like, what could go wrong, you know? And then I sort of cut to this bit that I'd shot where, you know, the drone takes off and there's a guy driving, you know, trying to follow the thing with the controller.
Oh, you had James, you had Babson in there.
Stuff.
You put Babson in.
Yeah, I tied Babson in for some stuff, and my
Scott Kelly. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was Scott Kelly. See, he was a good Scott Kelly, wasn't he? So yeah,
I don't
remember
know.
like Scott Kelly was the astronaut who went to the space station for I don't know how long.
So what's this? You produced this? Lucky Otter.
Yeah, I wrote it and shot it and cut it and
one episode.
Yeah,
no, 2 episodes.
No, they were like did like
16
episodes.
Or
16.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
The one I was really fun. I thought was I did like an Oscars special. That was kind of a fun one.
Okay.
Remember we had that also. There was like Oscars So White thing, right? And they were just like why aren't we being representative, right? And it was like so wasn't diverse, and so like and my wife's in that as well, and she was like playing the head of the academy, you know.
Right.
And it was like those sort of funny excuses of why of how we actually are being inclusive, but it was just sort of like, you know, play on words. And you know, I grew up with like sort of like not the 9 o'clock news and
yeah,
stuff.
I love that stuff.
Two Ronnies.
The two Ronnies
stuff. So
not necessarily the news.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Saturday Night Live had is it Autumn Withers? Is that your wife?
That is my wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
That be her. That be her.
Yeah. Cool. She actually. How'd you convince her to marry you? How did
I commit? I don't know.
You just got lucky.
I think in the beginning the accent is it's
a draw
stuff.
It's a draw.
You know, and so is the character face. And then as time progresses, you know, then you realize no, it is an ugly face. And that
show me your profile, Jay. Do you think we look similar?
Oh wait, I better do that way. Right? About you.
Pointy nose, jawline, similar. No,
I think we could be brothers. Sure.
I think we could. We should do let's do True West together.
Really True West. There you go. There's some good stuff.
Yeah, your hair looks a little.
My hair looks like super dark right now, but I think it's the lighting.
Okay.
I used to have blonde hair as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
And I wanted like black hair, and then my hair got sort of progressively darker.
You got it. Well, it looks like.
Well, no, it looks.
Now it's
it's
black,
sort of,
but probably
salt and pepper on the sides.
Auburn. Yeah.
What's
your workout routine?
What's my workout routine? So yeah, 20 from the neck down. Very, very much older from the neck up. My workout routine. So I've like weight trained since I was like 21, basically. So that's really like resistance training, basically is it. And I don't do cardio. I'm sort of reasonably mindful of diet, but I'm not super.
You got a gym? You're doing stuff at home?
Stuff. I do go to gym. I weight train. That's the thing.
Okay.
But I'm not in the gym for longer than 30 minutes at a time.
Right.
But I've gone to the gym like 5 to 6 days a week for like 30 years
Forever,
type
for 30
thing.
years.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, during COVID, it's like that was always challenging. But I'll
Mm-hmm.
find something else to do. And I've done some like my stretchy bands from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm feeling like a little under the weather, like today, I woke up feeling a little bit like, ooh, I feel like sort of a little bit of flu coming on, maybe. Because of course, once you've got a kid, as they're a petri dish and they'll bring it home. And
Typhoid
I
Mary.
thought I'd survive. I thought I'd done so well because my kid had a cough for a couple of weeks, and she's finally getting better. And then my wife had something, and they're both like, now they're good. And my
It's
system
your
was like,
turn.
okay, now it's your turn, buddy. So I was like, oh bugger. So I skipped today, but I also I like working out, but I don't like being in the gym per se.
Yeah,
So I don't
hate it.
mess around, and I go in and I'll do like
You do it.
5 sets on a machine, but I won't like rest in between sets. I'll just sort of,
Right.
not so much pyramid, but I'll just go up, 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 up. And then until I reach my sort of, like 5 rep max or something. But I'll sort of warm up, and I just like move the pin in the stack, do
Right.
another, 10, pin in the stack, do another 10, keep going like that. And I do like a 2-day split, and
Right.
yeah, and I know, so my body knows, so like muscle
Yeah.
memory is a really good thing. So and I know what works for my body too. So
Do you think
it's
that's helped you to have a kind of a nice physique like that with
I
the?
mean, look,
It hasn't hurt, obviously.
it hasn't hurt, and I'm a little narcissistic, I suppose. So I like looking the way I do.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, and also, I mean, it also does give me more energy. Truthfully, it's
Yeah.
like when I've found myself like on holiday, and then I do some stuff, but you're away from home and you're not near a gym or something, and then you're like, oh, I'm relaxing, and now I got a family, so now it's like I can't really excuse myself to go to do, because we're meant to be doing something.
Right.
Then getting back in, I'm like, man, I've like lost my
Right.
energy, or like you sort of lose your mojo a little bit, sort of thing. And I do feel more tired when I'm not working out, so.
Yeah.
But I don't have to kill myself in the gym, I mean, I work to failure, on the last set, for the most part. But I also, I don't try to move quickly, and I take care of my body a little bit, better than I used to.
It's good
And I
for an
cycle.
actor.
I guess the other thing I do is I cycle around. I still have my Brompton, and
Oh,
I
you still
cycle a
got that.
bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm frozen. I'm back.
Yeah,
We're
you
all
kind of.
frozen.
No,
Okay.
we're good on our
no.
side.
Oh no, connection. All right.
Looks all right. Jay, any other questions for Gideon?
I mean, you've answered pretty much all of them. Do you have like an audition process or an audition trick that you
There you go.
use a lot,
That's a good
especially for
question.
voiceover?
Oh, for voiceover, okay. Yeah, so funny when you.
How do you get booked so much, other than just being talented? Jay
I think.
wishes
I mean,
he had your career.
I don't. Like, honestly, I'm not sure how much is. Well, nothing's really in your control, right? Other than your attitude and putting in the work. But I've often in the last 30 years, I've often wondered, like, what, like, you wonder what like the secret sauce is, and those, you think of like the work you book versus things where you think, oh man, I was definitely like, I nearly booked something on a show a couple weeks ago, and they were like checking a veil and stuff, and then it went away, and I felt good from the get-go with that, but this is not a VO, sorry, this is an on-camera self-tape,
Cool.
but it just felt like, oh no, this is good, and my goal is to like have fun and enjoy it, and sometimes I feel like I should be in the mix. I don't think like I better book it. I feel I'm gonna book this one, I just kind of feel like, hey, I think I'm gonna be in the
I
mix for
deserve to
this
be in the
one,
mix.
Yeah.
but
And you're happy with what you've done.
yeah, but
That's the key.
it's more often than not, it's you're not,
Yeah.
VO wise, key for me, I suppose, is reminding myself to be like fresh, I guess,
Mm.
because it's tough sometimes because stuff comes in, right? You get like the end of the day,
Yeah.
and then it's like, well, I'm not gonna do stuff tomorrow. Am I gonna forget about it? I know in the opening you were talking about like you recorded that one thing and you hadn't sent it off yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I have to remind myself not to. Oh, let me go quickly, like bang these guys out and send them off, sort of thing, like to find
Yeah,
something
you
fresh.
wanna
And I think it's harder sometimes to do that, when you've been doing something for a while, and
Mm.
it's um
bringing the
yeah. So I
energy
don't.
to it.
Yeah, and I think what I'm trying to do now, actually, so this doesn't speak to anything I've done up until this point, if you will, but I'm trying to, with regards to, sorry, going back to self tapes. I'm trying
Right.
to treat my room that I do my self tapes with reverence.
Mm.
Sacred space.
So it's not just a self tape room. It's like my kids doing art in there, my booth's in
Mm.
in the same room. My wife will come in and do some stuff, and the dog will be in the dog bed, this sort of thing. So it's not just a single purpose thing, which would be kind of cool. But I'm trying to think of it as like, because when you used to go in
Yeah.
person, or when you do go in person, you got that agreement when you arrive. You got that whole thing of whether you're taking the train or you're cycling or you're taking the bus or you're driving there. You get on the lot or whatever. There's that on the way there, and you've got your sort of
Yeah.
game
There's the
face.
build
Or you're
up
listening
and
to that
the
music, or you're like
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
running, the scene in your head, or
True.
maybe you're drilling
True.
it with a like an app or something. And then you get there and you've got that sort of ceremonial thing where you get to the building, you come out of the elevator, whatever, your sign-in sheet, then you're sitting there and you're like, okay, and then you go into the room and you got your time, that sort of like special time, and then I used to love going in person. A lot of, actors don't like auditioning, but I love auditioning, I love
Mm.
going in to do
Mm.
my thing, and I love the in-person thing, and I would feel great if I did my thing, walk away, whatever happens, happens, right? Because anything beyond that is like madness, the path to madness, right? Especially after a period of time. Yeah, but obviously you're
Totally.
going to invest in some of them more than others. And shoot, if you've like signed a freaking thing to see how much money's riding on it before you audition, you're not going to not think about it.
Yeah.
Um, um, and then you're not gonna not look it up on IMDb to see how much the guy who did, how many episodes the guy who got the gig that you
Right.
didn't did,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you'll times it
Mhm.
by what you knew you were going to be making on
Yeah.
that job, and then weep.
There you go. Oh, that was
But
only
that
worth
shouldn't happen too often.
120 grand. Yeah.
And there was only worth like in the region of like
Yeah. That's
3.5 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Six
no, that's
figures.
what I've figured out over the
How much money you've lost, you've calculated by not getting jobs.
But well, no, by working on a specific job.
All right.
Or
Wow,
like,
really?
like,
You did that to yourself?
the series reg that
Oh,
I
God.
nearly
The
booked,
one that got away?
it was between me and another guy for a weekend. And then I remember I was walking the dogs, and I got the phone call from my agent, and I knew it was like Monday morning.
Yeah.
Friday.
You knew it was a no.
No, I didn't know which one
No,
way it was
but you
going to
knew
go.
it was
It's like,
coming.
Oh, you knew
knew
it
that
was
was
coming.
the fall was going to be about.
Yeah, this is the answer.
He's like, sorry, they went with the other guy.
Sorry.
But on to the next one. I was like, okay, thanks.
Crushed. Yeah.
So
Your dog starts like going near you because it like knows
It
that your
understands that you're
emotional
like
state is going down.
It's the same kind of emotion that I imagine somebody that had a bunch of Bitcoin and then threw away their hard drive feels when they realize,
Ooh,
oh wait,
totally, yeah.
I had Bitcoin. What happened to that computer? And they calculate and they go, wait, that was worth like a few million. But yeah, you got to let it go.
Yeah.
Nothing else you can
I
do.
like what you said about the sacred space. I like that, like you have a space for it because that just intuitively puts you into a good, into where a good space. I like that.
Yeah, and not to get caught up with it, because the challenge, of course, with like, self tapes or doing VO auditions at home is you can just hey, it's not like I'm in there for like freaking 5 minutes. And that's my time, and then I'm done, and
You
I've
can
got
like
to edit.
spend time.
You can spend so much time, but the problem is you can spend so much time.
Too much time.
Too much time and analyzing and whatever, and so now I do try to. I mean, I have to get like one out the system usually, and I'll probably like it's not, there's something not quite right, and then there's like something else I want to hit, but like 3 takes max. And,
Yeah, at some point you got to know when to pull the ripcord and bail out.
You know, yeah.
Enough's enough.
I think beyond that, then unless it's something where it's like really, challenging copy or something where it's just like
something big.
Yeah. Then it's okay. Yeah.
Giddy,
and also
it was a pleasure.
Personality too.
Yeah.
Because that you don't get to do, because you also don't know as I wave my.
You get your mini hand. There's the personality. Yeah.
Hey, I got a question. What they don't get is a sense of you, right? Like you're getting a sense of me now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, funny guy. Like, I could see him doing comedy. But if I'm, reading for,
Right.
Russian bad guy on the self-tape, they're not gonna get a sense of that, or casting isn't. When like in the old days, you'd go in, you do your thing, and they're like, yeah, maybe it's not right for this, but I could see him doing something else,
love him.
And you
And I
he
liked
had a
him,
little
yeah,
bit
and
of
he had
that
energy about him, and,
chemistry and something. And so I guess in the slate, it's sort of finding a little bit of you, where it's not forced, but if there's the impulse to, I did something recently where it was like he was a complete a-hole, this character, for the self-tape, and then I did my slate, and blah blah blah, height, name, where you based, whatever, and then at the end it's like, and I promise you I'm much nicer than him in person. It was just like whatever, it sort of came.
Oh, I love that.
It was like, okay, it was so those sorts of moments, if they don't feel forced,
right.
Eventually, I don't know. What do I know? What do you know?
What does any of us know?
What do you know?
As William Goldman famously said, nobody knows anything, right? So
there you go.
Just
well, he didn't know what he was talking about.
He didn't know either, I guess.
Hey, man, real pleasure.
Likewise.
Thanks
Good
so
fun.
much.
I hope I haven't bored everybody, but yeah.
Well, we'll
this was
find
fun.
out what the comments are.
Didn't bore me.
No, it was great. I think the stories and the insight, and it was a fascinating look into a real genuine working actor's career. Appreciate it, man.
Oh, I tell you one more workout thing. It's not acting.
Yeah.
One of my big discoveries during COVID was I happened to have access to a walker. There's like one of these guys. Yeah, one of those guys. One of these guys.
Mobility. Yeah.
Yeah, mobility walker, whatever, which you can pick up at CVS for like, next to nothing, like $30 or whatever.
Yeah.
And most of them you can get now. They sort of, you press a pin and you can fold them in, so you can tuck them behind a door or something, or under the bed. Anyways, great for dips.
Oh, okay.
Literally, I was gonna say I travel everywhere with a walker. I
Oh.
still have one. So when I'm at home and there's a thing where like I haven't had time to go to the gym, or maybe I need to do something before,
Dips on the walker.
Dips on the
Dips on
walker,
the
man.
walker.
It's great. You put it on the lowest setting, you do dips.
There's
Easy
this-
squeezing.
That's the title of the podcast. Dips on the walker.
Dips and then stretchy band for bicep curls, and you've got your and press ups, and then you got your upper body taken care of. Tune in for more
on
Instagram
our health podcast. The next.
Right.
All right, there he is, Gideon Emery, and the big applause from the two guys. Massive. Thanks, Gideon.
Thanks for coming on, dude.
Wow.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you.
Whoa, wait, that's not me and Jay. There he is. What do you think, Jay?
That was great. That was cool. That was like what's the word I'm looking for? That we just explored the labyrinth of Gideon Emery's mind.
Absolutely. I wasn't expecting to go that deep.
We really did.
I think we got somewhere in the end.
Yeah, well, we absolutely did, but it's the journey that this will be an episode I am re-listening to, because I know that there was so much that happened.
There was a ton. I think he could have gone on and on too, by the way. I mean, I think this could have been easily like a 4-hour episode, but yeah, scratch the surface, and it doesn't take much to scratch it, but and you start pouring out like syrup on a map of Florida.
Like syrup
all
on
the
a map of
all the
Florida.
goodness. But I'm serious when I say, like, that's a guy who grafts. That's a guy who hustled. I drove myself. I moved 2 hours north of where I grew up to LA, and I could barely be bothered to like go like to a casting. This guy came from South Africa and was hustling, going
And
personally
was
into
walking-
studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going in and like introducing himself and just making it work for himself. And but he's obviously got the talent to back it up as well. So that's cool.
Which a funny story. I once did that in New York City. I walked to a casting office with my headshot, and they actually updated the online casting the next day to say, "Don't come in."
Don't come in
with photos, and I was like, "That was me."
Oh, I did that. Hey, that's my.
That was my fault. Yeah, they probably burned my headshot. They probably.
Oh
sent
yeah,
it
you were on the black
to the
books from
Lord
now
of
on. Like they're like, this is not how we do things.
I'm gonna wipe my butt.
So
with
there is there is a fine line between like hustling and being a little bit aggressive.
You know what? No, when you hustle, hustle comes back. You get hustled.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah. Anyway, great show. We won't keep anybody any longer. And check out Gideon Emery anywhere that video games are made and high quality dramatic American television series are produced.
Yes, sir.
That's our time, folks.
Thank
the
you so
Offstage
much.
Acting Podcast. Let me do it in an official Gideon Emery voice. Radio style.
Okay.
Big thanks to our boy Andy for all the technical support. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, audiences. And thank you, Gideon Emery, for being on the Offstage Acting Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.